Hi everybody, so today we're going to be talking about endocarditis. And basically what endocarditis is it's inflammation on the inside of the heart. And there's two types of endocarditis. There's acute bacterial endocarditis, all right? And then there's also subacute bacterial endocarditis. So we have acute, and then we're going to have subacute bacterial endocarditis. And just really quick, we have abbreviations from these because, as people know, we don't like to write a lot in science. So we're going to call this ABE, and we're going to call this SBE. ABE and SBE. So we're going to start with the subacute bacterial endocarditis first. And like the name implies, subacute means it takes a while to come on. Acute means this is going to happen pretty quick. They're both bacterial. They're going to be caused by bacteria. This one is usually caused by strep, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. This one's normally caused by staph. So you might have heard of people getting a staph infection. Well, that's what's going to cause this. And we'll talk more about these in a little bit. Then we have the endocarditis. Whenever you see the letters ITIS after something, it means there's inflammation. Endo basically is the inside, right? And card is short for cardio or cardiovascular. So we have inflammation of the inside of the heart. So let's talk about this real quick. And here's what's going to happen is I'm going to draw a heart here real fast. All right, and there's my heart. And I got my heart coming around this way. All right, and your heart is divided to several chambers. All right, so we have on the top part is called the atria. All right, that's going to be up here, and then on the bottom part we have something called ventricles. So this is this here, and so this is my right atrium. This is my right atrium, and this is where blood enters the heart, is in the right atrium. Then from the right atrium, the blood's going to come down here into the right ventricle. Then from the right ventricle, the blood is pumped out through basically through our pulmonary artery, and it's going to go out to the lungs, which are on either side of the heart. It's going to get oxygen. Then it's going to come back into the heart, and when it comes back into the heart, it comes in through the left atrium. Then it's going to when the heart beats again, the blood's going to come down into the left ventricle. So really quick, once again, just to reiterate, blood comes in through the right atrium. And by the way, at the same time it's coming into the right atrium, it's coming into the left atrium because this here is coming back from the lungs. This is going to be, blood is going to go from the right atrium into the right ventricle, and also it's going to go down here. Then the bottom part beats. If it's in here, it goes out to the lungs. If it's here, it's going to go out to the body through the aorta. Okay, and the aorta would be somewhere around in here, but I don't want to draw it because I'm going to be doing something right here. So when the heart beats, basically what you have right here are called valves. There's a valve, and this is a valve. All right, so we have a valve on either side. This is known as the bicuspid valve, or the mitral valve, or the left AV valve, or the left atrioventricular valve. But what will happen is these valves, it's actually, they actually come together. This one's in two pieces, this one's in three. And when the top part of the heart beats, what happens is the valves actually open up, and then blood will go from here down into here. Now, like I said, when this part wants to beat, it doesn't want the blood to go back up that way. It wants the blood to go out to the aorta and out to the body, right? So this is my aorta. And then it's going to go out to the body. So when the bottom of the heart beats, what happens with these valves is they are going to close up, right? So it'd be like this. It opens up and then it closes. Opens up and then it closes. All right? But they're going to close, which would force blood to go out through the aorta. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to work. Now, in subacute bacterial endocarditis, what's going to happen is there's going to be some type of injury to the valves. Normally on an endocarditis, it occurs on the left side, unless the person is an IV drug user or they've been in the hospital with an IV for a while. Then it's more likely to occur on the right side. So we're going to redraw this real quick. All right, so let's redraw this valve. And let's talk a little bit more about the endocardium. So if I go like this now, here's my valve. All right. And like I said, the one on the left-hand side is basically made up of 2 parts. The one on the right-hand side is made up of 3 parts. It's known as the tricuspid valve. So let's just draw this real quick, and then I'm going to draw this side over here. Okay, so these are my valves on the inside of the heart. In fact, just like I said, I just want them to be bigger. So I'm just going to draw the heart again like this. I'll like this. And, all right, so there's my heart again. So now we have the valves, and this is going to be on my left side here. So again, this would be my left atrium. Blood's going to come in from the lungs into this area. On top of these, now, we have a small little cell, or type of cell, and we call these endothelial cells. Endothelial cells are like the cells that you have on your skin, which are called epithelial cells. And what these do is, these make the inside of the heart slippery, so that way there's not as much blood, or the blood doesn't have friction. These are epithelial cells, which are basically the same type of cell, but these actually have a protein in them called keratin. And what the keratin does is it makes your skin waterproof. And so these seem to be a lot rougher than these. So here's what happens. It's in subacute bacterial endocarditis. Normally there's been some type of damage to these endothelial cells. People could have, they could have been born with something called atrial septal defect. That's when you have a hole in your heart, right? So patent ductus arteriosus is another condition. So they could have been born with congenital heart disease, right? They could have had syphilis at one point. And years after someone's had syphilis, it may actually come back and damage these. They could be an IV drug user, right? Or they might have even got, we don't see this that much anymore in the United States, but it's still a very common condition. They might have had rheumatic fever. And rheumatic fever is basically a condition that's caused by strep, which is going to destroy these valves here. So let's say they've had something already. They already have heart damage, because in subacute bacterial endocarditis, the person already has something wrong with their heart. So instead of these endothelial cells being nice, they're actually flat. But instead of being nice and flat, they are damaged. So now here's my damaged endothelial cells. Well, here's what's going to happen is when these get damaged. Is basically when you get a cut on your skin, it basically you form a blood clot, right? And it stops bleeding. Well, it's the same thing here. What happens when you cut your skin is your body puts something called platelets and fibrin in the area to form the blood clot. We're going to get fibrin and platelets in this area too. Okay, so this is going to be my fibrin and platelets that are here. And they're basically going to grow because your body looks at this as being a cut, and it wants to protect the underlying area. So now what's going to happen is, let's say somebody goes to the dentist and they get a tooth extraction. Well, in your mouth, there's a bacteria, and that bacteria is called Strep mutans. Now, there's other forms of strep that can cause this also. And let's say you didn't even go to the dentist. Let's say you were eating something and you cut the inside of your gum. Or let's say you were brushing your teeth and you cut the inside of your gum. Okay? Or let's say you went and got a piercing. This can also happen from piercings. You know, you get your skin when you get your skin pierced. So what can happen is now you get the bacteria, the strep mutans, gets into the bloodstream. And of course, all the blood eventually has to go to the heart. So because you already have this fibrin and platelets here, what's going to happen now is my strep mutans is going to start to adhere to this fibrin and platelets right here. So this is my strep mutans here. I'm going to just go like that. That's my strep mutans, right? This is the fibrin and platelets. And then what's going to happen is they are going to release some chemicals, and they make a little biofilm on top of here. Biofilm is basically, it means it's alive, right? And this is a protective covering on top of this. All right, so. All right, so this is my biofilm here. Now, when I get the biofilm, and I got my platelets and my fibrin, and I have my bacteria, this is called vegetation. So this is my vegetation. All right, that's vegetation right there. For the most part, in subacute bacterial endocarditis, it does not cause further damage to the valves. The bacteria just takes advantage of the damage that's there. Okay, so the problem with subacute bacterial endocarditis will occur when, let's say we have this piece right here, all right, and it breaks off, and now it starts to travel in the bloodstream. And what can happen is this can go to another part of the body. Normally it's going to end up at the kidney. And what happens is, once it's there, it gets lodged in the kidney or whatever organ it is. And then when that occurs, basically it's going to lead to death. So in subacute bacterial endocarditis, there's no heart damage. In fact, let's write this down real fast. So in subacute bacterial endocarditis, it's the people, there's pre-existing heart conditions. All right, it does not damage valves. It's usually caused by strep. Okay, it's usually caused by strep, and basically death occurs due to damage to other organs. And like I said, it's most likely the kidney. And in this case, what's going to happen, death occurs due to damage to the kidney. And this will usually take weeks to months for deaths to occur. All right? And that's why they call it subacute, because weeks to months is really not that quick. Now let's look at acute bacterial endocarditis. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to erase all this. And now there's some differences. All right, so if we go like this, and now, in acute bacterial endocarditis, what's going to happen is this one has pre-existing heart conditions. This can occur in healthy hearts. It can also occur if they have something going wrong, but for the most part, it can occur in healthy hearts. This says it does not damage valves. This causes valve damage. This is usually caused by strep. This is usually caused by Staph aureus. Staph aureus is in your nose and it can be found on your skin. In fact, a lot of times when people get like folliculitis or inflammation of a hair follicle, it's a staph infection. This death occurs to damage to other organs. This death occurs due to damage to the valves. Okay, and then also this kills within days to weeks. So let's take a look at this real fast. So now what's going to happen is I have my valves, right? And now here comes my staff, and my staff actually gets on this, and it starts releasing endotoxins, and it starts damaging the valves. So now, or the endothelium, and it starts causing damage to these. Okay, and so eventually it doesn't stop. It just keeps causing damage. It releases endotoxins and it keeps causing damage. So now instead of the valves opening and closing like they should, what's going to occur is my valves will actually start to change their shape. And they become prolapsed. All right, so now you can see the valve doesn't close. So now when the blood comes from here and it goes into the left ventricle and the left ventricle pumps, instead of that blood going out to the body, it can go back up into the atrium. And this can happen on the right side. I just have left side right here. But it can happen on the right side too, okay? And that's basically what's going to happen in acute bacterial endocarditis. So you can see this one's going to be a lot more deadly because it just keeps growing and destroying the valves. So that's it for endocarditis, and I hope you enjoyed the video.